सो है गाइस की हाल चाल है सब तो फुल सारे वधिया होवोगे ड्रिपी सॉन्ग जो सिद्धू का AR पैसली का आया सीगा ਉਹਦਾ ਲਾਈਕ ਮਰਸੀ ਦਾ ਮਿਊਜ਼ਿਕ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਹਦਾ ਬ੍ਰੇਕਡਾਊਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਸੌਂਗ ਬ੍ਰੇਕਡਾਊਨ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਟੈਟਿਕ ਨੇ J-Statik ਬਾਈ ਨੇ ਲੈਟਸ ਚੈੱਕ ਇਟ
All right, let's get into what all the layers were. So 808 kicks, hi-hats, snares, crash, effects, another effect, main tag,
Show mercy on it.
more effects, crowd noise, gunshots, and he's got his melodies, and he's got some open hats, Paisley's vocals.
Yeah, look, see he had a plan.
And we got obviously the main man himself, the late Sidhu vocals. And that's all the layers within the song.
ਨਾਲੇ ਯਾਰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਿਲੈਕਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਗਾਣਾ ਇਸ ਬੰਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਮਿਕਸ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਮਿਕਸ ਕਰੇਗਾ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਚਾਹੂੰਗਾ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਕਿ ਉਸ ਕੀ ਸੋਚ ਕੇ ਲਾਈਕ ਮਿਕਸ ਕਰਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬੰਦੇ ਦਾ ਟੇਸਟ ਐਵੇਂ ਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ
So let's jump into the mixing. So with the 808s, simply enough, added some sidechain compression and some EQing. So without it, sounds like this. Now with it, just with the sidechain. So that just adds room for the kick to come in, and then I just wanted to make it a little bit fatter, so I just added some slight 1 dB at 43 hertz. Rounds at the whole bottom end, and then I did the same thing, just duplicated it on this track as well, just to keep those two consistent. Then after that, the kicks, I just added some regular basic EQing, so without it. Just noticed some low end rumble, and I think it was interfering with the 808, so I just brought that down a little bit. Nothing major where it's noticeable, and then put some punch back into it, and it popped through the mix. Just makes it sound a little bit more in your face. Now for the rest of the drums, I added a drum bus, so without that it sounded like this. Now with it, you'll hear it. Adds a little bit more of that tinniness, like high-endness on the...
ਇਹਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਛੋਟੇ ਲਾਈਕ ਟਵਿਕਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਲਾਈਕ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਤਾਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਨਾਰਮਲ ਕੰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੋਨ ਤੇ ਬੈਠਾ ਦੇਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ ਨਾ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਿ ਅੱਛਾ ਫਰਕ ਕੀ ਪੈ ਰਿਹਾ
On the hi-hats especially, and then what I wanted to do was add some thickness to the snare, so I just added it to the overall group, and it gave the snare a little bit more of a knock, like on that low-end thump knock. Now it sounds like this. And then the open hats, I didn't do anything actually, I just left it the way it was, sounded nice. Same with the effects, he already added all like his reverb and everything on them, or if he didn't, he just found like a really good stock sound. No, it's got reverb on it, so it sounds really nice. And then this, all I did with this was without it, I just added some soothe because without it, it's very ear piercing. Yeah, and then with it, it just kind of tamed everything down without making it sound different.
Okay.
For his tag, nothing major, didn't do anything, just purely leveled out.
Show mercy on it.
And then over here for the effects, I don't really do much because they're usually pretty processed. They like to make them fit into the song. Sounded good, left it the way it was. Same with this, sounded great. Love this. Like really good choice of effects. Where I did a lot of work was here, which is the melody. I noticed in parts of the song, obviously you can tell he's got 808s here, but then he's got these gap moments here where he's got like a reese behind this melody that comes in. Okay. So you'll hear it. I'll see if I can find the right part. So there's nothing behind it right now, right? It's just the melody. So over here, he's got that reese sub that's happening underneath it. So what I wanted to do was be able to control them independently. So kind of like a ghetto technique of doing it. It's not really ghetto, but I call it a getaway because I didn't have both layers and it was on a time crunch. So what I did was first isolated the low end with an EQ, and then I added that EQ low pass. So you hear still a slight element of like the high end, but it's not enough to jeopardize it.
ਯਾਰ ਆਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਸਹੀ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਨਾ ਲਾਈਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਿਕਸ ਮਾਸਟਰ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਸਿੱਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਅਬਲਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਇਹ ਬਾਈ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਲਾਈਕ ਸਟੈਟਿਕ ਹੋਰੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਮਤਲਬ ਲਾਈਕ ਮਿਕਸ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ ਇਹ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਚੱਕਰ ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨੇ ਹਾਈ ਐਂਡ ਕਿਉਂ ਕੱਟਿਆ ਲਾਈਕ ਲੋ ਪਾਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਹਾਈ ਹੈਂਡ ਕਿਉਂ ਕੱਟਤਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਸੁਸ਼ੀ ਦਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਹਲਕਾ ਨਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਫ੍ਰੀਕੁਐਂਸੀਜ਼ ਮੈਚ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਬੇਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਮੈਲੋਡੀ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਚ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੱਟਤੀਆਂ ਜੀ
And then I added some Voice of God of it to it. Again, just rounds out, makes it more 3D. And then I did the complete opposite on this part. So I literally went in here. It was set to this.
ਹੁਣ ਦੇਖੋ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਦੂਜਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਲਾਈਕ ਜਦੋਂ ਹਾਈ ਪਾਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਲੋ ਐਂਡ ਕੱਟਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਮੈਲੋਡੀ ਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਜਮਾ ਬੇਸ ਆਪਸ ਚ ਕਲੈਸ਼ ਨਾ ਹੋ ਫ੍ਰੀਕੁਐਂਸੀਜ਼ ਮੈਚ ਹੀ ਨਾ ਹੋਣ ਆਪਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ
I literally just went over here.
ਮੈਂ ਫ੍ਰੀਕੁਐਂਸੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਸ ਚ ਕੋਈ ਕਲੈਸ਼ ਹੋਣ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਨਾ
Here, change it to this, and now it's all the high end information. So again, you still hear a slight amount of the Reese sound, but not the sub itself. And then just to make it pop through the mix, I added some high shelf. It just helps cut through the mix. Next, I'll go into the other effects first, just because they were added last. So one, we got gunshot. And straight up stock Ableton reverb. Sounds really nice, sounds natural, and just made it sound not abrupt. It made it sound like it kind of lasted through. And then over here, we got a car effect. This is actually the same sample. So if you hear it, it goes like this. But instead, what I did was layered them together.
क्या बात है यार क्या बात है खुद भी करते हैं ना मैं देखा ही गल कि खुद भी कम करते हैं बहुत सारे मिक्स इंजीनियर्स ते गाना दा साउंड कई बार चेंज कर दिंदे पूरा पूरा.
It's really nice, and that's an AR's part. So for AR's vocals, we didn't do too much. We went in, and so what I'll do is I'll turn all the effects off, and I'll slowly add, and I'll tell you guys what I did to it. So this is the raw vocal.
Plan up out of the van and squeeze on that trigger as fast as he can.
So there's two harsh elements I hear. I hear something in like the SE range, and I hear something before it, which is still sharp. So I found those two. And because this vocal's already been processed, I didn't want to go overboard and do insane amounts of stuff. I wanted to keep it kind of natural sounding. So what I did was just get rid of these two. So I'll play it and I'll engage the EQ, and you can hear what happens when it comes in.
Plan up.
Sound a little bit tighter. Then I
कोई मतलब कॉपीराइट ਦਾ ਚੱਕਰ ਆਇਆ ਹੋਣਾ
got rid of that low end information that was on there because there was a little bit of like rumbling going on, and then brought out some of those highs that I got rid of, but like in the middle range, just to see if I could pop that vocal back out, give the same energy that Sidhu had. So this is it without it and then with it.
Plan up out of the van and squeeze on that trigger as fast as he can. Make sure it don't jam, and he'll get the bands. He'll
Okay.
bring the money right back to.
So a little bit of the essiness still came back out, so that's where the de-esser, Waves de-esser I live by.
Plan up out of the
Waves DSR is love. Like when Waves is plugins बहुत प्यारे लगते हैं.
van and squeeze on that trigger as fast as he can.
Perfect. And then just to tame that mid-range again, just a little bit, added a Soothe too,
Plan up out of the van and squeeze on that trigger as fast as he can.
without it.
Plan up out of the van and squeeze on
हाँ थोड़ी harshness घट जाती है.
that trigger as fast as he can.
With it.
Plan up out of the van and squeeze on that trigger as fast as he can.
And then last and but not least, a very, very slight bump to the mid-range, and then you'll hear I'll play without it and then with it.
Plan up out of the van and squeeze on that trigger as fast as he can. Make
देखा उन्ने की जो नहीं air जी मिल गई कुछ जगह.
sure it don't jam, and he'll get the bands. He'll bring the money right back to his fam.
It honestly just pops it out, makes it a little bit more 3D. 3D is the word I use because it just feels that way. And then after that, we added some effects. So, well, no, we'll go to his ad-libs first. His ad-libs, to be honest, it's pretty similar of a chain. But what I noticed was, let me mute Sidhu's part. What I noticed is when I played it, this sounded very dull, and then this sounded super bright. So I wanted to bring them closer together in terms of how they sound. So without it, it sounds like this.
See, he had a plan. Yeah. Look, see, he had a plan.
And I think that's bomb. Nice contrast. But with all the effects put back on, you can see I did like a really nice like high shelf. Kept these the same. Yeah, de-esser is the same. Soothe is the same. And yep, the Pro 3 Q3 is the same. All I did was instead of doing that bump here, I added some high end because it's already got that sharpness or that mid-range bump to it.
See, he had a plan. See, he had a plan. See, he had a plan.
It just sounds brighter, and then when I play it in context to the Paisley's vocal, it sounds kind of similar.
See, he had a plan. Yeah. Look, see, he had a plan.
बहुत minimal जो चीज़ां होंदियां कई बारी तो सच्ची like कई बार तो थानू इन्ने छोटे tweaks करने पैंदे हैं कि बंदा देख के कहता है oh my god.
It doesn't sound as drastically different. Then over here, Mxrci did an effect on some of his ad-libs. So if you hear it,
Dog, if he's moving shiesty. If she was a hoe, then how can I trust him when she says she wifey?
Okay.
And then Paisley wanted some other stuff done to some of his vocals, but again, with the time crunch, I just kind of did it myself. So over here, added thermal, and it's got a pretty nice preset called loudspeaker blast, and you hear it, and it sounds like this. And then this is where those cars screeching sounds come in, and then it sounds like this.
All of this action, damn, all of.
And that fills that in. And then over here, again, got some thermal, same one, but then I added a longer delay on this one, so it sounds like this.
The floor, whoa, shit is so tragic.
क्या बात है यार, क्या बात है, मतलब ये चीज़ां लाइक हुण पैन हो गई और डिले.
Fuck it, I'd rather do this.
So you hear that? It's just the whoa in the background. That's it. And then there was a word in here that he used that we had to cut out, which so you guys can guess what it is.
They just a distraction, all of this fashion, all
Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but this was what it was.
of this pussy and all of.
So they didn't want that in there. So what we did was instead use the gunshot, and now you got this.
They just a distraction, all of this fashion, all of this love, and all of this.
And that's it. That's it for AR's part. And now we go into Sidhu's part. Vocals, beautiful sounding. So now I'm going to go in and explain what I did. With his, it was a little bit more complicated. So right off the bat, go in and mute all these. So this is the original raw vocal. So this
बहुत ज़्यादा फ़र्क है एक्चुअल 'ਚ बहुत ज़्यादा फ़र्क है. ਜਦੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਵੋਕਲ ਸੁਣਾਈ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਪ ਸਾਊਂਡ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਐਂਡ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲਾਈਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਜਾਇਜ਼ ਫ੍ਰੀਕੁਐਂਸੀਜ਼ ਕੱਟੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਥੋੜੀ ਬੰਨੀ ਜੀ ਸਾਊਂਡ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ.
There's a lot of sharp points in there. It sounds like the energy is there, but it's like ear piercing. If you turn it up, say in a car with the way the vocal was, it would be very, very fatiguing and ear piercing. So what I did was tamed it with these notch points. Not much. I know some look drastic, but they're not doing a hell of a lot. And if they are, it's because it was like super harsh. So that was that for the Q3. Then added some de-essing on it. The de-esser also works on like that those E sounds. I don't know why, like depending on like the wideness of what you use. It did a really good job. It helped tame that as well. Then I added some soothe.
ਸੂਦ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੂਦ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਮਤਲਬ ਸਟੈਟਿਕ ਇਜ਼ ਗੁੱਡ ਵਿਦ ਸੂਦ. ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਮੋਸਟਲੀ ਯੂਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ. ਨਾਲੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਤਾਂ ਪਲਗਇਨਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣੇ ਆ ਗਏ, ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਬੜਾ ਜੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ, ਮਤਲਬ ਬੜੇ ਸੋਹਣੇ ਸੋਹਣੇ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਆ.
So that was great, and now we just need to bump up
SSL?
the
Okay, no, UAD plugins IQ SSL नहीं है ये, हाँ.
low mids and some of the high end frequency just to bring back the energy into the vocal. Yeah, sounds pretty bomb to me. And then afterwards, again, roll off any low end information. And we got a little bit of a high shelf here. So that's it for that. Now, after that, what we did was right here, added some EQ automation.
Automations, okay.
And now the reason for this, the beginning, they were ad libs and it sounded really nice. So if you hear it, I'm going to turn this EQ up. Now with it, it's got more.
ਹਾਏ ਪੂਰਾ ਟੋਨ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਪ ਜੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ, ਲਾਈਕ ਹਲਕਾ 에ਅਰ ਮਿਲ ਗਈ ਵੋਕਲ ਨਾਲੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਟਾਈਟ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਰਪਨੈਸ ਹੋ ਗਈ.
More of like a ad-libby type of effect. It's not in your face. It's supposed to be a little bit in the back. And it sounded really nice, so I kept it that way. So that probably had the most low-end information cut off. Then over here, this, I kept a lot of the low end. I wanted the thickness of the voice while there was no Reese going on with the melody. There was no 808s going on. It was just his voice was supposed to carry it. So to make that happen, I left a lot of the low end information here. I took out more of the low end so that the Reese could fill in, the Reese sub could fill in a lot of that low end information in Sidhu's voice. There's nothing major, but it's enough to allow that to go through and they don't interfere with each other.
Baseline.
Then when the 808s come in, that's when I got rid of even more. That was it. And then I just wanted to make sure that was done. And then over here, same thing. Added the higher end high pass filter, the more aggressive high pass filter again for the ad libs. And then let's see. Over here, you can see this part's been cut. All I did was this is at 0. So what happened first was this is what the vocals sounded like. It sounded like two different parts, which I'm pretty sure it was supposed to, but it was way too drastic and it kind of got lost in the mix. So I brought that back up and then it sounded like this. Still sound.
ਉਹ ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਬੂਸਟ ਅਪ ਕਰਤਾ.
Sounds like it's supposed to be an ad-libby type of sound, but it's still there, and it sounds like more in place with everything. Then over here, there was a little pop in the mic. So mute this guy, and you'll see it. So when he says, you hear that. Like that, it sounds like a pop in the mic. So what we did was some simple EQ automation to get rid of it. So with it engaged and without it, you can hear that in the sub. If you had it playing, it sounds like a kick. Now it's it. That was it for the entire mixing of everything. Then over here, let's go into the master section. You guys can see what I did. So right off the bat, added some Pultec EQ.
So guys, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸਦਾ, ਮਿਕਸ ਤੇ ਮਾਸਟਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਫਰਕ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਮਿਕਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਲਾਈਕ ਗਾਣੇ ਦੇ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਬੈਲੈਂਸਿੰਗ ਗਾਣੇ ਦਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਕੰਪਲੀਟ ਇੱਕ ਫ੍ਰੀਕੁਐਂਸੀ ਨੂੰ ਬੈਲੈਂਸ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ, ਮਿਕਸ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ। ਗਾਣਾ ਜੁੜ ਗਿਆ ਆਪਸ 'ਚ। ਮਾਸਟਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਤੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਾਣੇ ਨੂੰ ਬੂਸਟ ਅਪ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਗਾਣੇ ਦੀ ਫ੍ਰੀਕੁਐਂਸੀ ਨੂੰ ਲਾਊਡ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਭਾਈ ਦੱਸੂਗਾ।
So nothing major. I forgot what the processing's called, to be honest, but where you add and attenuate at the same time with this EQ in general, it adds some nice like weird roundness to the bottom end. So it sounded really nice. And then at 10K, added about 2 dB, and then it was clipping a little bit on my next EQ. So what I did was just bump it down with a utility tool down to 2 dB, and then again went in with some dynamic EQing just to get rid of any sharpness, and then added in some more low end because hey, why not? Low end's beautiful. So without it, let's do it. So you can hear like
nice.
the low end coming out more, and you can hear some of the highs have been tamed. And then if you're listening to this and you turned up this YouTube video, you might want to turn it back down because this next clipper is super loud, so it's going to bump right back up into the proper level. So this is without it.
Okay.
Let's do with it.
काफी actually.
Now, this is the best clipper I have come across that sounds as close to Fruity Loops soft clipper that they have on like that final, what they have in their actual stock plugins, the Fruity soft clipper. So this is the closest thing I've found, and it's bomb. So anyone who sends me anything Fruity Loops based that wants that knock, this is the one to use. And after that, some simple L2 just to make sure nothing goes over, also reduced by -0.4. I set it to punchy. I did oversampling 32 and then just left it at 0 because it was just already super loud. And then I got the loudness up to, I think it was -6. That's the whole mix master and everything behind this monstrous track. This track was so great to work on. It's probably one of my most favorite songs. Mxrci and the team, thank you very much for getting me on this track to mix and master because I thought it was such an amazing song to do. And just to give you
ਮਤਲਬ ਮੈਂ ਖੁਦ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਮੈਂ ਮਰਚੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਦੇ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਪੁੱਛੂਗਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਬਾਈ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ ਵੀਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਮਿਕਸ ਮਾਸਟਰ ਕਰਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਡਿਸਾਈਡ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਕਰੂਗਾ?
An idea of the difference between the two, the reference versus the what I did. You guys can have a little listen. So you can tell in the original one, Sidhu's vocals are way brighter. They can be ear piercing, and sometimes that can, like in different cars, it can be really annoying because you don't know if, like, whether you're listening to a stereo system, a club, a car, or whatever. When the vocals are really sharp, depending on different systems, they will be a different level of sharpness. So this way, when they're all kind of neutral, even if you have a system which has some more highs or has less highs, they'll sound more even across the board. And that was it. That's the song, and it is a banger, and it's killing it on the charts right now. So make sure you guys go check it out, and I hope you guys.
Yo, we loved it, bro. We loved the video. ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਯਾਰ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਮਜ਼ਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਬ੍ਰੇਕਡਾਊਨ ਵਾਲੀ ਵੀਡੀਓਜ਼ ਕਾਫੀ ਮਿਊਜ਼ਿਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਿਊਸਰ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਉਣੀਆਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।